79.
No, it's not 79.
In the brown book is
It's a different book.
Yeah, my book is
Yeah,
also brown.
73 in that book. Sorry.
73.
Yeah. Saparshad Bhagvat Viraha Janit Vila. Katha. Ye anilo premadana karuna prachu. Ratayatra ki.
Jai.
Shri Sarvadamoda Goshai ki.
Jai.
Shila Shivananda Sen ki.
Jai.
So the translation of that wonderful song, written by Narottam Thakur, Saparashat Bhagavad Viraha Janit Vilap. Viraha means separation. How do they feel, those devotees, how do they feel towards others, other devotees who left, or the Lord who left? He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya, God? Where are my Svarudamoda and Rup Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees, in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So this is the state of mind, state of affair for those great devotees. How do they feel towards other devotees, and how do they feel towards the Lord when they experience sentiments of separation? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjara Sharakaya Shakshu Militam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Shvapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupa Sagravatam Sahagana Radhunatam Vitam Tam Samjivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopal Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tata Kansane Gurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Panamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpata Rudasha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. So today is such a great day. This is the Ratayatra in Puri. So this Ratayatra encompasses lots of very lofty tattvas. Tattva means truth. It is the embodiment of the highest truth. Jagannath Puri is considered Gupta Vrindavan. Gupta means hidden. Sometimes we call it Nava Vrindavan also. New Vrindavan. And we have to remember Mahaprabhu himself spent 18 years in Vrindavan. After Navadvip, this is where he spent most of his time. So we are dealing with the most profound tattva. Tattva against means truth. And this I will draw from this wonderful magazine you may be aware of, Shri Krishna Katamrit. It's obviously compiled by Madhavendra Prabhu, a disciple of Govind Maharaj, and is extremely conversant with Puri Tattva. Shri Kshetra, sometimes we call Jagannath Puri Shri Kshetra. So this Lord Jagannath, who is Lord Jagannath, by the way? It's a simple question.
Krishna.
Lord Krishna himself. Jagannath means literally
Master of the universe.
very good. So is Mahabhav Prakash. Mahabhav means the highest form of ecstasy. Just in Krishna Prem, there's 12 levels within Prem of Krishna. So we're not going to go into that, but this is the epitome of Bhav, Mahabhav, that is experienced by Lord Jagannath. We're going to see why he's got these wondrous forms. You have seen Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, and Srimati Subhadra. They have wondrous forms, to say the least. It's not easy to accommodate those forms. But this is his form of ecstasy, Mahabhav ecstasy, that is experiencing in separation from Srimati Radharani. And in response to that, Mahaprabhu, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Radha Krishna.
Yes, Radhabhav Duti Suvaritam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. He is himself Krishna, Krishna Swarup, but he has borrowed from Srimati Radharani Radhabhav, Bhav, the sentiments, the emotions of her towards Krishna, and he has borrowed also from her Duti. Duti means the complexion. Srimati Radharani is which color? Gold. Hema Gopi. Hema means gold. So in the same way, Mahaprabhu is gold, Gauranga, right? Golden also. So let's get into that. It's called the hidden identity of Lord Jagannath. It's a very lofty tattva, way beyond my purview, but by Lord Krishna's grace, we can try to delve into it a little bit. It's important, and we are in Gaudiya Vaishnavisms, it's important we try to grasp all this very lofty tattva. My Guru Maharaj used to say that this Gaudiya Vaishnavisms is the most aristocratic branch in the spiritual world. Obviously, in Golok, there's many, not only Golok, Vaikuntha as well, there's many branches. We know in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahaprabhu is compared to the tree. And just like in a regular tree, you find the trunk, you find main branches, you find sub-branches, you find tiny twigs. So in the same way, there's many sampradaya. How many sampradayas? Vaishnava sampradayas, how many? Four. Very good. And we find also sub-sampradayas, like the Ramanandis, for instance. They are offshoot of Shri Sampradaya. So we find lots of sampradayas, sub-sampradayas as well. But of all these sampradayas, the most aristocratic sampradaya is Gaudiya Vaishnava. Gaudiya means? Gaudiya means Bengal, very good. Gaudiya means Bengal. So Gaudiya means basically we are followers of Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu appeared in Bengal. It means also we are followers of Srimati Radharani. Why do we love Krishna? Because Srimati Radharani loves him. You understand the subtlety? The Kaishnas, technically the devotee of Krishna are called kindness. They love Srimati Radharani. Why? Because Krishna loves her. But we are the other way around. We are Gaudiya. Gaudiya means we love Krishna because Srimati Radharani loves him. But our object of love actually is Srimati Radharani. That is why we worship Mahaprabhu, because, like you say, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nai Anya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none different from Radha Krishna. He's avatari. Don't think Mahaprabhu is avatar. It's a big offense. He's avatari. So let's get into that. So Lord Brahma, he lives how many years? How many? In terms of his time scale, 100 years. But obviously his time scale differs greatly from our time scale. And what is this? Just tell us what is the duration of one kalpa? Kalpa means 1 day of Brahma.
8 units? 4 units?
A little more.
1,000 times 4.
Yes, 817 Gita. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam. Sahasra means 1,000. And you take 1,000 Divya Yug, cycles of 4. It's called Divya Yug or Mahayug. 1,000 of those, plus as long as for the night, that's one kalpa. 2,000 cycles of 4. You understand? That's 8 billion, 0.64 years, solar years. That's 1 day. So, how long is that altogether? It's totally mind-boggling.
It's in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, of course. Bhagavad Gita is the book we should read, 817. So, it comes to 300 trillion, 40 billion years. That it goes beyond our head. So that's 2 times. Let's break down his life in 2 portions. It's called Prarada. 50 years of Brahma is called Prarada. The first Prarada, Lord, in this universe, that universe belongs to one, our Brahma. Our Brahma is Mahajan. He's the head of our Sampradaya. We are connected to. Which original Sampradaya we are connected to? Brahma, very good. We are called Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. This is technically our belonging, and we belong to that. Who are you? We are Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. This is our family. So, Lord Brahma lives 2 praradas, 50 years, 2 times 50 years. In the first 50 years, who was the Ishtadev in this universe? Ishtadev means object of worship, object of love. For instance, here in Mayapur, who is our Ishtadev? Ishtadev means object of worship, object of love. Who is our Ishtadev in Mayapur? We have the choice. It could be Gaunitai, it could be Shishirada Govind Madhav, it could be Krishna Balaram. It's an affair of the heart. We cannot force devotees, please worship my Ishtadev. He may have a different Ishtadev from me. As long as the Ishtadev is Vishnu Tattva, it's fine. Okay? We shouldn't start worshipping Jiv. Jiv means we are Jiv Tattva. We are not Vishnu Tattva. We have to respect the Jivs, but we cannot start worshipping them. So we should be worshipping Vishnu Tattva. So the first Ishtadev in the first Prarada of Lord Brahma is Nilamadav. He was the Ishtadev for the whole universe in those days. But now we are in the second Prarada of Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is approximately 52 years old. See? 52. So we are, and who is the Ishtadev in this second Prarada? The second portion of his 50 years, of his 100 years, the second 50 years, let's say. Who is his Ishtadev? Lord Jagannath. So Lord Jagannath is the most famous deity in the universe presently. So now you understand why Srila Prabhupada installed literally hundreds of deities. I bet perhaps not hundreds, but at least tens. And very early in ISKCON, 67 I believe, I was the first Ratha Yatra on the flatbed truck in San Francisco. So Srila Prabhupada was very keen on establishing the worship of Lord Jagannath, because it corresponds to the universal worship. It's not whimsical. The most famous deity in this universe, in the second 50 years of Lord Brahma, is Lord Jagannath, by all means. And there's ample thousands of Shastric evidence to that. So, Lord Jagannath obviously has been famous thanks to Srila Prabhupada. Before Srila Prabhupada, who would know of Jagannath? Actually, in English, you say Jagannath. There's an English word, Jagannath. Look it up, it's English. And it means the big Jagannath.
Yeah.
It's an English word. It comes from the Jagannath, actually. Just like quintessence in English or in French, quintessence. It comes from Panchatattva. Quintessence. Panchatattva. Everything originates from Sanskrit, from Gaudiya, actually. So, Jagannath. So the British, they had there's a painting here. Not a painting, a drawing of how the British conceived of the Ratha Yatra. Because in those days, they were 250 years in India, the British. They also beheld Ratha Yatra for 250 years. So this is how they conceived of it. They made a drawing of it, And they used to call the mammoths. Mammoths means huge, like a mammoth. Mammoth means a big elephant. So for them it's like mastodonte, en français on dit, mastodonte. But they could not relate. Who is this deity? Even Indians cannot fully relate. What to speak of British? So it is the most diversified deity in the universe. Amongst the worshippers of Lord Jagannath, it's an extremely diversified list of worshippers. We're going to see now. All types of devotees will worship Jagannath. Even Muslims, even Christians. You will see, it's mind-boggling. How many devotees go to the Ratha Yatra in Puri? Any idea of any figure you may think? 1 million. I was there in 2007 by Krishna's grace. Totally, you have to go once in your life to Jagannath Puri. Definitely. Before you die, try to make it a point to go. I was there in 2007. On the Nava Kalival, 3 million. So what is Nava Kalival? Lord Jagannath changes his body. We have to understand, for God, Dehi and Deha is the same. For a Jiv, what does Krishna says? Dehi nosvinyata Dehi, kumaram yivaram jara. We change bodies, right? We are different from the bodies. But for God, is he different from his body? Is God different from his body? No. The Dehi and the Deha. Dehi means body and Deha means who is incarnated, embodied within the body, is non-different. Is his body. Let's put it this way. God is his body. There's no difference. It's all spiritual. So there's one ceremony called Navakaliva. Every 19 years, between Snan and Ratha Yatra, they take the heart. Lord Jagannath has a heart also. They take the heart out and they place it into a newly fashioned deity. 3 deities, remember? Lord Jagannath, Lord Baladev, Srimati Subhadra. So on that occasion, on that particular Ratha Yatra, it occurs every 19 years. 19 generally. 3 million people come. So it's a big festival. So why Lord Jagannath is conceived in so many different ways? We're going to discuss about that. Half an hour is going to be difficult, but let's try. What was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conception of Jagannath? We're going to discuss. And what is the nature of his special relationship with the Lord? He's called the Lord of the Blue Mountain. There's one mountain in Puri, it's called Nila. It used to be called Niladri. Nila means blue. Because before, remember, the previous deity to be worshipped was Nila Madhav, the blue Madhav. And of course, you have to read the story. It occurred long back, during the time of King Indra. When was that? Try to figure it out, how far it goes. Indra was in terms of genealogy, the grandson of Lord Brahma. So just imagine. It goes billions of years. So Lord Indradyumna, King Indradyumna, hailed from Avanti. Avanti is Ujjain. So you just imagine the age of this city. It's about 2 billion years. Okay? You tell that to a Christian, he will shoot you. See? We're dealing with Sanatan Dham. The whole universe is Krishna consciousness. The main Sanatan Dham is Krishna consciousness. All the rest are just offshoots, like Upadharma, Shayadharma, Ketavadharma. So there's one book, Niladri Mahodaya. It's considered, it's called Stala Purana. Stala Purana means a local Purana. Even the Pandas today, the Pandas are the priests in Lord Jagannath Mandir. They consider this book, Niladri Mahodaya, the highest authority on temple worship, on rituals. Lord Jagannath is called Savarup Dar. Means he assumes all forms. All forms are within Lord Jagannath. Any forms you can think of in terms of Godhood, Godhead, is within. Savarup Dar. Dar means he carries all the forms. So let's discuss about who worships like Jagannath. We may be thinking only the devotees of Krishna. It's totally wrong. Totally wrong. There's diversity in unity. Who opens the worship today in India? Of course, now India is ahead of us 6 hours, perhaps 4 hours now. In the very beginning of the Ratha Yatra, who is the first school to worship? It's quite mind-boggling, but it's a fact. Adi Shankara. Adi Shankaracharya. What is his philosophy, Adi Shankara? Mayapur. But be careful, Adi Shankara is himself Lord Shiva. So don't find fault with him. In Padma Puran it's mentioned that Lord Vishnu expressly ordered Lord Shiva, Mayavada Asat Shastram, you have to come down and bewilder the population, purposefully. So he told Lord Shiva, you please do so. He followed the instruction. But Adi Shankaracharya, there's one mat in Puri, Adi Shankaracharya mat. They perform a special puja that day of the Lord. on the chariot. But of course, they consider in their mind what is their tattva, what is their siddhant, what is their conclusion. They are thinking Lord Jagannath is a manifestation of impersonal Brahman. But still they worship. So do you think Lord Jagannath is not accepting? Yes, he is accepting. Number one. Number two, there's other Vaishnavas. We are not the only Vaishnavas on earth. It's called Ramanandis. Ramanandis, it's an offshoot of Sri Sampradaya, and they worship Lord Ram, Raghupati. So they consider, well, Jagannath, of course we're going to worship, it's a manifestation of Lord Ram. No problem. Number three, there are other devotees. They worship Nrsimhadev. No problem. And they consider Lord Jagannath is an expansion of Lord Nrsimhadev. What's wrong with that? They worship. And Lord Jagannath accepts their worship. Then Ramanuj, who is Sri Ramanuj Acharya? Which Sampradaya is this? Sri Sampradaya. What is their Ishtadev?
Vishnu, Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu, Lakshmi Narayan. Let's be precise. Lakshmi Narayan. So, and also the Madhva. Madhva, since we are talking about Ramanuj, Madhva means the Tadvavadi in Udupi. Udupi is down the southwest of India, Kerala, Karnataka perhaps. Either or. They worship also Bal Gopal, Lakshmi Narayan. So they also come to Ratha Yatra. And they worship Lord Jagannath as expansion of Lord Narayan. No problem. Nimbak. Who is Nimbak? Nimbakacharya. Yes. They consider, they are very close to us actually. They consider the Ishtadev of the Nimbakacharya is Sri Krishna. So we are on par. We are on par with them. They come. They are quite present in Vrindavan also, the Nimbak. In terms of Sampradaya, they are the closest to us. There's some tiny differences. Shivaites, the Shivaites, do they come? Do they come? Of course. They love it. They consider Lord Jagannath is a form of Lord Shiva. Lord Jagannath, no problem. Please come. Ganesh, they worship Ganesh. Do they come?
Yes.
Yes, why not? They consider Lord Jagannath is a form of Ganesh also. I'll show you the evidence. Not finished. Utkal. Utkal means Orissa. Even local Christians, can you imagine? They are much more far-fetched than all Christians here. They are broad-minded Christians. They consider, no problem, we support the puja of Lord Jagannath. We support it. See the Christians there? Muslims. It's not all Muslims. They support the worship of Lord Jagannath, sorry. Local Muslims. Lord Jagannath, again, bear in mind, is the most diversified deity in the universe. Not only is the Ishtadev of the universe, the most diversified. You find the most diversified crowd amongst his worshippers. What about the mundane people, the movie stars, the politicians? Do they come to the theatre? Yes. I remember in 2007 I was there. There was the governor of Orissa. Because there's always the tension. Is he going to make it in one day? Or is he going to stop overnight? Because remember the story. He's taken out from his mandir. He goes to which mandir he goes? Which temple he goes to? Gundicha. It's about 3 miles, 4 miles. So people speculate, especially the politicians. So that day, this governor of Orissa, he said, no, not really. I'll make it a point that he goes straight. He put his foot in his mouth. Lord Krishna, Lord Jagannath, to befool him, he stopped on the way. How can you order Lord Jagannath? Even if you are the governor. He stopped on the way to prove him wrong. So even the politicians, the movie stars, for them, Rath Yatra is a cultural event. It's a symbol of traditional India. So they will come. They don't have the full picture, but still, Lord Jagannath accepts them. So he's called Chakadola. Chakadola means you have seen Lord Jagannath. He's got big round eyes. Chakadola. He's greeted everywhere. If you go, have you been to Orissa? Even on the billboards, here you find Pepsi Cola, Microsoft, whatever they sell in Orissa, they put Jagannath. See? It's very simple. If you want to sell something in Orissa, if you want to make business in Orissa, you put Jagannath. No problem. That's the landmark. That's the seal of business. They are very intelligent. So this is called Rashtra Devata in Orissa. Lord Jagannath has been worshipped. We cannot encompass, we cannot fathom how far it goes back. I told you before, King Indradyumna appeared, he was the grandson of Lord Brahma. We're going back to the beginning of this Kalpa. We're talking about 2 billion years. Who can beat that? This deity has been worshipped for 2 billion years. In this Kalpa. But he was worshipped before, in previous Kalpa also. He's going to be worshipped for 50 years of Brahma. He's going to be worshipped for 150 trillion years. So, who can beat that? Lord Jesus Christ, 2,000 years? Lord Jagannath, 150 trillion years. You understand? So, in 1211, there was, actually, this temple we see when we go to Puri is about 2,000 years. Right? Because what happened is, Jagannath Puri is so old that it has been covered over by sand since time immemorial. Same with Bhubaneswar. If you dig deep within the sand, you'll find other mandirs. If you go to, you know how many temples in Bhubaneswar? 10 million. 1 crore. Do you find 10 million temples today in Bhubaneswar? No. You find quite a lot, but not 10 million. Because they have been buried in the sand for billions of years. So the present temple that we see now is about 2,000 years. But before that, there was previous temple, previous temple, previous temple. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, in Jagannath Puri there is a place where it's maybe 20 meters below the level of Jagannath Puri, and you have a temple here.
Exactly.
You have to go down, and it's from time immemorial, this temple.
Yeah, we are dealing with the oldest place on earth, practically. And we have to understand. Jagannath Puri is mind-boggling. This is, as I told you before, it's Gupta Vrindavan, hidden Vrindavan. So there was one king, 1211, Gachapati king Maharaj Anangabim, number 3. This is the first time a king did that. I mean, in recent history. He declared himself deputy. He said, I'm not king. The king is Lord Jagannath. I'm just a deputy Rota. Rota means deputy. And ever since that time, 1211, all the kings of Orissa, they never dare to say I'm the king. The king is Lord Jagannath. They are deputy. So there's one verse in Brihad Bhagavatam read, Rajyam Otkalam Palayam Svayam. Jagannath personally protects the kingdom of Orissa. If you're born in Orissa, it's called Utkal Bhakta. In those days of Mahaprabhu, they used to call it Utkal. You are personally protected by Lord Jagannath, whoever you are, in Orissa. This is the guarantee of Lord Jagannath. If you are born in Orissa, I will personally protect you. Now, the Muslims, I was telling you about Muslims, they respect Jagannath, even in Rajapur. You have been to Rajapur, near ISKCON Mayapur? About 8 kilometers away. This is very old. I was there, quite a few weeks, even a few months. I lived 10 years in Mayapur. The king, the head priest of Puri, I remember he came. He said, these deities are not different from Jagannath Puri. Those deities are not different from Puri. Remember in Rajapur, Mahaprabhu took darshan of those deities of ISKCON in Rajapur. Nityananda Prabhu took prasad of these deities. Just imagine how glorious. The Muslim around here, around the temple there in Rajapur, for centuries, they know this is Allah. This Jagannath is Allah. They know very well. They have gone through tremendous experiences with Lord Jagannath. One time I remember there was one rickshawala, Muslim rickshawala. He was given Mahaprasad. And of course, Muslim, they can't help it. Kafir means you are outcast. He threw the Mahaprasad. Can you imagine? Throwing Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath. That night he had a dream. Jagannath came, trying to rip apart his rib cage. And next day he came. He had the marks. He said, "Where's the prasad? Where's the prasad?" And he was like, he got the point. He got the point. This is Allah. So they got the point since time immemorial in Rajapur. The Muslim will never mess around with Lord Jagannath. Let's go back to the Muslim of Orissa. They respect in the same way they respect Lord Jagannath. They take part in the festival. It was mentioned in Times of India in 2006 that 800 Muslims in some section of Orissa, they contributed financially. Even one guy donated a tree, and from that tree they carved Lord Jagannath. They're very much Krishna conscious. And even some Muslim carpenters, they will join the team. Every year, they build the carts, 3 carts every year. Muslims will know, let me get into the work also as a carpenter. So it's a common sight in Puri to see Muslims and Hindus taking prasad together. It's a common affair. If you want to find the place on earth, en français on dit œcuménisme, interfaith, the most prolific interfaith place on earth is Jagannath Puri. You cannot beat. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. You cannot find more broad-minded in terms of Godhead than Lord Jagannath. Prabhupada used to say is 80% lenient, 80% lenient. Dhananjaya Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, not our Dhananjaya, Prabhupada disciple, he told me in the early days, in London, in Amsterdam, 69, the hippies, they didn't know anything. They would extinguish their cigarette butts on Lord Jagannath. You understand? They would extinguish their cigarette butts on Lord Jagannath's deity. They didn't know that. How lenient you have to be. See? This is Lord Jagannath. So now the Buddha. There's two Buddhas in Kali Yuga. We'll give a talk on that a different day. There's a great intimate connection between Lord Buddha and Lord Jagannath. There's a great tradition, it's called Buddha Puran. Buddha Puran is an Orion book. It explains about the connection between Lord Jagannath and Lord Buddha. We have to remember that there's one Sampradaya, Vaishnava Sampradaya, is called Rudra Sampradaya. This is the oldest of the four. Who was the head of the Rudra Sampradaya?
Shiva.
Yes, but in terms of mortal beings, let's put it this way. Who was the Samspataka Acharya of the Rudra Sampradaya? Vishnu Swami, very good. There were three Vishnu Swamis. They live about the time of Lord Jesus Christ. When did Lord Buddha come on earth? The second Buddha. The first Buddha is Adi Buddha, and when we worship Dashavata Stotra, Jayadev Goswami, we refer to that Buddha who came 1,000 years after Lord Krishna. This is Vishnu Tattva. The second Buddha we are quite famous with. This is Gautam, Siddhartha. Everyone knows about Buddha. The second came
600
years before Christ. Very good. So, from -6 to Adi Shankar came. Which century came Adi Shankar?
600 after.
8th century after Christ. 6 plus 8, 14 centuries of Buddhism in India. Don't forget. 14 centuries. It's a long time. 1,400 years. Buddhism was so prevalent that at one point, around the time of Vishnu Swami, they removed Lord Jagannath from the throne and they put Buddha. This is how it happened. So, in those days, the king of Puri and Vishnu Swami, there's three Vishnu Swami, but this one is Adi Vishnu Swami. They canvassed that was their goal. It took them many decades to put Lord Jagannath back on the throne. They removed Lord Buddha and they put Lord Jagannath back. So all this to say that you will see there's a very intimate connection between Buddha and Jagannath in Puri. There's one Orion writer, Shishu Krishnadas. He has written a book, Dala Tola. It describes the origin and the Leelas of Lord Jagannath. So at the junction between the two Pradadas of Lord Brahma, Pradada means 50 years. This is the time when King Indradyumna appeared. Nil Madhav was still worshipped. Then Nil Madhav disappeared. And remember the story of Lord Jagannath. Indradyumna Maharaj, he was living in Ujjain, Avantika. And he wanted to do deity worship. That was his main concern. In those days, we are talking about 2 billion years behind us. He had this very strong intent. He wanted to do deity worship. So he sent his priest all over India, please find me a deity. I want to worship. So one priest, what is his name again? Someone can remember of that priest, very famous priest, the head priest of Jagannath. He came to Puri. You can see Avanti. Avanti means Ujjain. Ujjain Puri is quite far. It takes 32 hours by train. I've done it one time. So he ended up going to Puri, and it's a long story, to make it short, he befriended one lady, of course, as usual. It starts like this, often. And this lady was the daughter of the king of the Sabaras. Sabaras means they are pig dwellers. They keep pigs. You can well imagine their status. What is your job? I take care of pigs. Are they Brahmins?
Pig house.
They keep pigs. And they eat pigs as well. If you keep pigs, what do you do with pigs? You collect them? You eat them. So they're called the Sabaras. That daughter was the daughter of the king of the village, of the Sabaras. Of course, it's Krishna's arrangement. This head priest of Puri was young, handsome. She was beautiful. They fell in love. Same old story. And they got married. And obviously, he settled with her, with the father. Father means the chief of the village. And after some time, he's part of the family. In Hindi, we say Jijaji. I think we Jijaji. When you become the son-in-law of the Indian family, you become the king. You are more important than the father. That's what happened to me, I know. So, Jijaji is called. And he could see my father-in-law sneaks out every day. Very early morning. And he comes back. In the evening, he comes back and smells there's such a nice perfume about him. So, and remember that that priest had been sent out by King Jagannath. Please find me a deity. That's the order, that's the mandate. So then he inquired from his father-in-law, my dear father, what is it? Well, it's just picking up flowers for my deities. Can I come? No way. And then he pleaded to him, with the help of his daughter, When you tell a woman, oftentimes it goes further. And finally, the father-in-law relented, okay, you come, but I will blindfold you. So the head priest was quite intelligent. He said, yes, father, no problem. You take me by the hand. And they walked all the way on Niladri mountain. It's called the Blue Mountain. That is why Lord Jagannath sometimes is called Blue Mountain Deity. All the way up. But on the way, this head priest, Vishavasu, he very discreetly dropped some mustard seeds on the way. He had mustard seeds in his hand. He knew they would sprout, so this way he can recognize his way and show the king later. King in Jagannath. And then he got there, and finally, the father-in-law, the chief, he removed his fold, and he could behold the beauty of Nila Madhav. Nila Madhav was the first deity to be worshipped in the first Prarada of Lord Brahma. And such a beautiful deity, Nil Madhav. So he offered choicest prayers, Uttama Shlok. And then he went about fetching flowers for him, worshipping him. And actually he could see there's already paraphernalia. What is this paraphernalia? Sparkling clean, gold, solid gold. Then his father-in-law told him, during the day the demigods come and worship this deity. So was totally enwrapped in bliss. He came back down and then he told the father-in-law and his wife, I have to go now, because he wanted to inform the king. To make a long story short, he went back to Avantika, fetched the king came with a big army. They went up the hill. Did they find the deity? No. The deity is gone. That was the Sandhya. It's called the Sandhya, means the junction between the two brothers of Lord Brahma. So, King Jagannath was extremely disturbed. He told his priest, you told me the deity is there. I came all the way, no deity. Then he heard this king is a very lofty devotee. He's a grandson of Lord Brahma. He's a Mahabhagavad. He heard a voice in the sky. O king, I shall incarnate in Kali Yuga as Buddha. So can you imagine? That was predicted. Buddha is a form of Lord Jagannath. We should never diminish or belittle Lord Buddha. He's an incarnation of Lord Jagannath. So, there is one Orion Mahabharat version. It's mentioned there also. For the purpose of delivering the souls entangled in samsara, Lord Jagannath has manifested as Buddha. So it's totally Shastric. Lord Jagannath is Buddha. If you go to the temple of Lord Jagannath, you will find also the Dasharavatar. It's carved. But there's something very peculiar there. I don't know if you have seen. In terms of the ninth incarnation of the Lord, they have carved Lord Jagannath. When we hear the Dasharavatar, we don't see Lord Jagannath, do we? But in Jagannath, they considered Lord Jagannath is the ninth incarnation of Vishnu. So, and since Buddha is part of the 9 of the 10 of the Dasharavatar, they consider, yes, Lord Jagannath and Buddha are on par. Now, Guru Nanak, it's already 9 o'clock, I don't know what to do. I can go on for about 5 hours, but it's up to you. I can stop if you want. Or I can go on. Huh? I should stop. Huh?
Yeah, because we have some comments, questions.
Oh, you have questions, okay. I have only 57 pages left. Okay. Sorry?
In the evening.
Continue in the evening after Gangarati.
Yeah, sure, I can do that, definitely. Any questions? Yes.
Okay, several points. First thing, I was in Jagannath Puri during the big tsunami on the east coast, and somebody told me that Jagannath Puri would never be touched, because almost...
It's a shank.
It's a special place. So also, okay, the scholars, especially the British scholars, they really put down Lord Jagannath like Juggernaut,
I mentioned that, in the beginning.
So being crushed under the wheels, like that. They presented some horrible description of Lord Jagannath. So it's not always, favorable.
Yeah, I've got a drawing. I think you came a bit late. I mentioned about that. There's a drawing of the British of Lord Jagannath. I mean, it's not a bad drawing. It's quite faithful. This is the one, see? It's done by a British. We don't find it extremely offensive. But she's right. There's a shank, a conch, which is about 60 miles long. That shank starts in Bhubaneswar. And the end of the shank is Puri. So it's a gigantic shank, it's a transcendental shank, and on the waters of Pralaya, One day the whole Brahman will be under waters. It's called Pralaya, Mahapralaya, the waters of devastation. That chunk will float. So Puri, of course, Vrindavan, Puri, Mayapur. Mayapur is the capital of this universe. Will never be destroyed. They are transcendental dams. When you go to Puri, you're not in India. You are in the transcendental energy. Same in Mayapur, same in Vrindavan. But of course, do we have the eyes to see? If you see the pigs, if you see the discarded papers, the litter, then you're not in Puri or you're not in Vrindavan. You are in the... It's called Podramaya. Podramaya means there's a thin layer of Maya on the dam, just like a film on the dam. And if you have materialistic consciousness, even as a devotee, you just see the Podramaya feature of the dam. You don't see the dam. So when you pass comments, wow, it smells bad. Oh, it's so many pigs, so much litter. You can rest assured you are just seeing the Podramaya feature of the dam. But those places are not Indians. They are transcendental. Hare Krishna. Yes?
So, Lord Jagannath is the most broad-minded. How come the priests nowadays, they are so close-minded? They don't even want to let devotees of Krishna inside the temple. Even my guru couldn't. Bhakti Swami managed to come in, even though it's black, I don't manage.
Yeah, true. It's of course they are smarters, but still, Bhakti Thakur says they have 4 arms.
4 arms?
Bhakti Thakur says that the Puri basis have 4 arms, and of course he can see. I cannot see myself, so we should not pass judgment. But definitely, they are pandas. They are descendants of the Sabaras, some of them. They are different descendants of the pig dwellers. They are considered Mahabhagavat because their ancestors is the one who was worshipping Nil Madhav. So yes, Lord Jagannath is extremely merciful, but sometimes we have smarta consciousness. Smarta consciousness means this is my caste, this is my city. We are not smarta, we are Goswami Vidhi.
This is my service.
This is my service. Mm-hmm. So that's why Prabhupada said in Vrindavan, at least, keep a distance. Don't poke your nose too much, otherwise you will commit offense, you will be frustrated. Keep distance. But Bhakta Shal, he comes here every day. Bhakta Shal, you know him, no?
Manage?
Bhakta Shal is, if you ask me, one of the most conversant devotee in ISKCON on Puri. I'm a little boy compared to him.
Can consult on it.
Huh? Lord Bhakta Shal, he knows extremely on Puri. He entered Puri temple. He's very smart. What is the best way to enter Puri temple as a Videshi? As a white guy? What is the best day? Try your luck that day. Bhakta Shal did it, he managed. The day of Ratha Yatra. Because he's out, Lord Jagannath is out. So then he can come in. That's what he did. That's what he did actually. He's close to the Pandas. He lived many decades he lived in India, Bhakta Shal. And one time he showed me even he had some portion of the heart. Every 19 years, Kalanaleva, they take the heart out and they put it in a new fashion tree as Lord Jagannath. So he had a portion of that heart.
The heart?
The heart of Lord Jagannath is transferred. Every 19 years, it's called Navakaleva. It's a ceremony. Every 19 years. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. We're just brushing the topic.
Thank you for
Those who want to continue to get Prabhu come to